Chapter 352, Chapter 219, Bloodline reappears, mysterious stone eye. Taoist Mu, there's no bringing back the dead. You must try to move on. You are right, Taoist Li. Mu Keiwei sighed, her heart heavy with sorrow. She knew she shouldn't be sad. Mu Hua was no longer the brother she remembered. He had become a heartless, monstrous creature. But they were brother and sister, after all. The bonds of blood were difficult to sever. Ahua was weak and sickly from a young age, and he only had an inferior spirit root. He was desperate to become powerful. He always used to tell me that once he was strong enough, he would protect me. Mu Keiwei's gaze fell upon the pile of mangled flesh as she spoke wistfully of the past. After a moment, she walked over to the pile of flesh, trying to find any trace of the bloodline. But after the bloodline self-destructed, every trace of it had vanished, as if it had never existed. The demon planting technique, it's truly bizarre. I can't see anything unusual at all. This pile of flesh alone would never be enough to get the attention of the higher-ups in the major sects and noble families. They would just assume Li Chang'an and Mu Keiwei had made a mistake, then go back to their infighting and external campaigns. In the end, Mu Keiwei had no choice but to use a few talismans to incinerate Mu Hua's remains. She sighed softly. Taoist Li, if it weren't for you, I fear I would not have survived this ordeal. Thank you for saving me. If you truly wish to thank me, Taoist Mu, then sell me the Cyan Profound Spirit Liquid. Li Chang'an stated his request without hesitation. He had saved her life. A debt of that magnitude should be enough to bend the Mu family's rules. Sure enough, this time, Mu Keiwei did not refuse. With a flash of spiritual light from her hand, a small jade bottle appeared. Inside the jade bottle was the very same Cyan Profound Spirit Liquid, shimmering like emerald. Li Chang'an was a little confused. Taoist Mu, you only have this one drop. You may not be aware, Taoist Li, but this Cyan Profound Spirit Liquid is incredibly precious even within my Mu family. To have even one drop is quite fortunate. Taoist Mu, if I were to give you enough spirit stones, could you acquire a few more drops for me? Well, after a moment's hesitation, Mu Keiwei nodded in agreement. But she made it clear that she couldn't get too many. If she acquired too many, it would inevitably draw unwanted attention from within the clan. The fake pill ancestor might even summon her to inquire why she needed the spirit liquid. Up to 3 drops should be fine, Taoist Li. Excellent. Li Chang'an wasn't greedy. Something was better than nothing. At least Mu Keiwei is an opening. I might be able to get more through her in the future. He took the Cyan Profound Spirit Liquid from Mu Keiwei and stored it away carefully. A quarter of an hour later, Li Chang'an left Mu Keiwei's residence. He didn't return to Chang'an Mountain immediately. Instead, he went to Zhang Qingqing's residence to discuss the Tao with her. The next day, Li Chang'an left Yellow Crane Immortal City and returned to Chang'an Mountain. He stood before the evergreen vine, took the small jade bottle from his storage pouch, and broke the seal on its mouth. In an instant, the fresh fragrance of verdant spirit plants wafted from the bottle's opening. Just a single whiff was enough to clear the mind and lift the spirits, leaving one feeling refreshed and serene. The evergreen vine immediately communicated a sense of longing. It extended a few vines toward Li Chang'an, like a child begging for a delicious treat. Here you go, eat up. Li Chang'an smiled and dripped the Cyan Profound Spirit Liquid onto one of the vines. The spirit liquid was instantly absorbed into the vine, vanishing without a trace. A moment later, the evergreen vine's aura surged, and it sprouted a new spirit vine. Under Li Chang'an's watchful eye, it took only a few breaths for the new spirit vine to grow to a length of 5 zhang, already half the size of a fully grown one. Just 1 drop of spirit liquid can grow half a spirit vine. Li Chang'an was inwardly astonished. No wonder the evergreen vine was so desperate for it. After all, the evergreen vine now had a full 60 vines. The more it grew, the more treasures were required to cultivate new spirit vines. Each new spirit vine now consumed an enormous amount of spirit stones, far more than the first few had required. I need more Cyan Profound Spirit Liquid. Li Chang'an mused. His spirit charm had already reached 71 strands. With just 10 more strands, he could break through past the top-grade spirit root and officially attain an earth spirit root. Over the past few years, the spirit vine's growth rate had slowed considerably. At its previous rate, it would still take many more years to achieve his goal. But now, the appearance of the Cyan Profound Spirit Liquid showed Li Chang'an new possibilities. I can get 3 more drops of Cyan Profound Spirit liquid from Mu Kwei, but a mere 3 drops won't be enough. If I get the chance, I should make contact with other Mu clan members and try to acquire it from them. Li Chang'an mulled it over for a long time. He even considered the idea of using a disguise to infiltrate Red Leaf Valley. But he quickly suppressed the thought. Red Leaf Valley was, after all, presided over by a fake pill cultivator. Until he possessed Tier 3 combat power, it was not wise to take such a great risk. I'll have to take things slow. Li Chang'an returned to his cave dwelling, took out Mu Hua's storage pouch, removed the restriction on it, and began to sift through its contents. As expected, it was almost entirely filled with poison Dao treasures. There were large quantities of venoms, poison pills, poisonous insect remains, and so on. They were useless to Li Chang'an himself, but he could feed them to his 10,000 poison goo. A moment later, his gaze narrowed as he discovered a rather peculiar treasure. What is this? With a thought, Li Chang'an took it out. A strange eye immediately appeared in his hand. The eye seemed to belong to a human race cultivator. Its surface was covered in bloodshot veins, and it had petrified, faintly exuding a powerful pressure. Li Chang'an infused it with magical power, attempting to refine it. But the treasure's tier was quite high. He had to borrow the magical power of his profound water turtle, and spent 3 whole days before he finally succeeded in refining it and learned of its purpose. A Tier 3 middle grade, illusion-piercing treasure. A look of delight spread across Li Chang'an's face. The function of this stone eye was similar to his pupil of truth, but it was far more powerful. His pupil of truth was only Tier 2 middle grade, and had long since become inadequate for his needs. Back when the black talisman old demon had appeared at his door in disguise, the pupil of truth had been unable to see through to his true appearance. Chapter 353, Chapter 220, Late-Stage Mystic Tortoise Tit for Tat. This treasure came at the perfect time. As Li Chang'an's strength grew, the cultivators he encountered also became increasingly powerful. The pupil of truth was a fine ability, but its tier was simply too low. This stone eye is the perfect thing to shore up this weakness of mine. Li Chang'an held the stone eye, examining it closely. For some reason, he had a feeling that this stone eye wasn't a treasure crafted by an artifact refiner, but had once been a real eye. Just a petrified eye has reached Tier 3. How terrifying must its owner's full power have been when they were alive? Li Chang'an thought for a moment, a sense of wonder washing over him. With his current strength, his corpse could also be considered a treasure after death, but it would be nowhere near the level of the stone eye. His eyes alone would, at best, be considered Tier 1 treasures. That Mu Hua was only at the Qi refining stage, yet he came across a Tier 3 opportunity. He couldn't refine it, though. If he had known the stone eye's specific tier, he probably would have offered it to the 5 poison wanderer. Li Chang'an put away the stone eye and continued to inspect the storage pouch. The remaining treasures held no surprises, and were quite fitting for someone of Mu Hua's status. He patted his sleeve and said to the 10,000 poison goo inside, "Come on out, little guy. Time to eat some more good stuff." Hearing this, the 10,000 poison goo's round body immediately squirmed out, radiating its desire for the treasures. Li Chang'an took out the Tier 2 poisonous insect and numerous poison Dao treasures, feeding them all to the 10,000 poison goo. Eat up, grow quickly, and reach Tier 3 soon. He still wasn't confident enough to deal with the 5 poison wanderer. That old poison master had been famous for a long time. His poison techniques were formidable, and his strength far surpassed that of his many disciples. Although the 10,000 poison goo was already at the Tier 2 late stage, it might not be able to handle all the poisons under his control. That old geezer has survived this long while being targeted by the Yellow Crane Mountain lineage. He must have a few tricks up his sleeve. I can't be careless, Li Chang'an mused. Although Huang He Master and his eldest disciple hadn't acted personally, Zaihu Hong, a fake pill cultivator, had tried several times without ever managing to eliminate the 5 poison wanderer. I can't rush this. I'll just let those 2 sides slowly wear each other down. Li Chang'an made up his mind not to make a move for the time being. He would just remain securely on Chang'an Mountain and watch how things unfolded. At his current rate of growth, even without any new opportunities, his power was increasing rapidly. Sooner or later, he would surpass all his enemies. Half a year flew by. On this day, Good news suddenly came from the Chen family at the foot of the mountain. A descendant of the Chen family had been tested and found to possess a middle-grade gold spirit root. Chen Yuanshan, already over 100 years old, was beaming with joy. He carried the child up the mountain to beg Li Chang'an to take him as a disciple. Chang'an, the boy's name is Chen Dan. I originally wanted to name him Chen Ping'an, but his parents said it wasn't appropriate. What do you think? Dan, the name's fine, Li Chang'an commented casually. Ever since he reached Foundation Establishment and renamed his abode Chang'an, many of his old acquaintances had started deliberately giving their children names like Changshan or Ping'an, clearly hoping to ride on his coattails and leech some of his good fortune. The most shameless of them all was Su Fugui, who had directly named his ninth son Chang'an. But he didn't care. Most of his good fortune came from his divinations. The younger generations couldn't take it from him. As for Chen Yuanshan's request for him to take a disciple, Li Chang'an refused once again. He used the spirit testing technique and saw that the child had 33 strands of spiritual root, which was considered upper mid-level for a middle-grade spirit root. The boy's talent is decent. If nothing unexpected happens, he has a good chance of reaching Foundation Establishment in the future, Li Chang'an calmly assessed. Although he didn't take the boy as a disciple, he gave him a top-grade gold element cultivation method, as well as 2 gold element techniques, one for offense and one for defense. In addition, he made the same promise. In the future, when it's time for Foundation Establishment, if you don't have a Foundation Establishment pill, you can come to me and get one on credit. You can just pay me back after you succeed. This news quickly spread throughout the surrounding region. Many of the small qi refining clans and sects in the area were incredibly envious, as they didn't have such a wonderful opportunity. Many people praised Li Chang'an for his sentimentality and loyalty, remembering his past connections. Luo Yunshu, who lived halfway up the mountain, also sent a gift. Even though she had reached Foundation Establishment, her disposition hadn't changed much, and she didn't allow the Luo family to devour the interests of the other 2 families. That day she made a public statement. The 3 families all came from Qinghan and had known each other for many years. They should support one another. They shouldn't become adversaries like the Zheng, Wu, and Cao families. Hearing this, the Chen and Wang families both breathed a secret sigh of relief. For the Chen family, it meant their middle-grade spirit root prodigy could grow up safely in this favorable environment. Meanwhile, the atmosphere within the Wang family had grown a bit strange. The next day, Wang Hu, who was also over 100 years old, announced he was taking another concubine. This news truly shocked everyone. Even Li Chang'an was a little surprised. He's over 100 and still taking a concubine. Although a cultivator's body is far superior to immortals, most become decrepit by the time they are over 100. After all, a qi refining cultivator's lifespan is only 120 years. Regarding this matter, the people at the foot of the mountain were all talking about it. Wang Hu paid no mind to the outsiders' gossip. He stood before the Wang family estate and sighed deeply. Sigh, the Luo and Chen families have both produced geniuses. Why can't my Wang family ever produce one? Is the Wang family stock no good? For some time after that, Wang Hu led by example, urging the many disciples of the Wang family to have more children. They absolutely had to produce a celestial pride. The news soon reached the mountain. Li Chang'an glanced at Da Huang, who was lying in a corner. He knew Da Huang had secretly given Wang Hu some treasures to boost his vitality. Senior Wang Hu really has it tough. I wonder if he'll live to see the Wang family produce a celestial pride. Chapter 354, Chapter 220, Late-Stage Black Tortoise Tit for Tat. Geniuses were a rare breed. Otherwise, so many Foundation Establishment clans wouldn't have fallen into decline. Li Chang'an shook his head, put the matter out of his mind, and continued his cultivation. That night, he lay in the medicinal bath, tempering his body with the potent liquid. His body had now reached the Tier 2 7th layer. Even without using the ancient wood divine armor, he could withstand an attack from a late-stage Foundation Establishment cultivator. Before he knew it, it was midnight. A golden light appeared, just as it always did. Divination has been refreshed. Today's divination, neutral. The loose cultivator Wu Huaqian will come to ask you for alchemy services. You will sense something is amiss. Using the stone eye treasure, you will discover a bloodline within his body. Wu Huaqian. Li Chang'an stared at the divination's text, lost in thought. The man was a loose cultivator and was on good terms with the peak masters of Ping Mountain's 4 peaks. Back when he first became a Tier 2 alchemist, Wu Huaqian had come to him for alchemy. Since then, Wu Huaqian had become a regular customer, often coming to buy elixir pills or request his alchemy services. To think, he had also been turned into a bloodline. It seems the incident with Mu Hua has stirred Murong Kang's killing intent once more, Li Chang'an mused. No, wait, perhaps he doesn't want to kill me, he wants to refine me into a bloodline too. Killing him, with the level of strength he displayed, would be a waste. If he were refined into a bloodline, Murong Kang would surely stand to gain a great deal. Unfortunately, the man is cautious. I've never found a good opportunity to deal with him. Murong Kang spent all his time on Yellow Crane Mountain. He barely stirred even when faced with a beast tide, and he remained indifferent to the ancient sect ruins deep within the mountains. He would occasionally disappear for a few days, but his timing was erratic, and his movements were a mystery. Against an enemy like that, the slightest mistake could lead to utter ruin. Li Chang'an had no desire to become a bloodline. If he could turn Wu Huaqian into a bloodline, he could do the same to someone closer to me. I have to handle this with extreme caution. Thank goodness I have the stone eye. The divination indicated that the Tier 3 stone eye Li Chang'an had just acquired could detect the presence of a bloodline within a cultivator. This puzzled him. According to the legends, bloodlines are incredibly difficult to detect. Even a nascent soul great cultivator using a Tier 4 treasure can't perceive them. Otherwise, Mo Qingquang wouldn't have risen so smoothly 10,000 years ago. So why could his Tier 3 stone eye see a bloodline? Could it be that this stone eye was special in some way? Or was Murong Kang's demon planting technique incomplete, making the bloodlines he refined inferior to those made by Mo Qingquang himself? All sorts of questions flashed through Li Chang'an's mind. But he didn't dwell on them, setting the questions aside for the time being. First, I need to figure out how to deal with Murong Kang. The next day at noon, Wu Huaqian arrived at Chang'an Mountain for a visit. Is Taoist Li here? Taoist Wu, please come in. Li Chang'an smiled and opened the 2 arrays. Wu Huaqian was also all smiles, showing no signs of anything unusual as he flew inside the perimeter of the array. He took out some alchemy materials and asked Li Chang'an to refine some Tier 2 top-grade elixir pills for him. It sounded just like any other time he had come asking for pills. But Li Chang'an knew that during alchemy, an alchemist's focus and energy were entirely on the pill furnace, making them vulnerable to a sneak attack. He secretly activated the stone eye, and the image of Wu Huaqian before him instantly changed. Through his eyes, Wu Huaqian's entire body was covered in fine, dense bloodlines. All of them converged just below his heart, forming a single mass, the bloodline. Just as I thought. The divination was correct. The stone eye was even more effective than Li Chang'an had imagined. Before his gaze, Wu Huaqian held no secrets. In addition to those bloodlines, he could also see numerous old, lingering injuries. Taoist Wu, please follow me to the alchemy room. Of course. The 2 entered the alchemy room, one after the other. With a casual wave of Li Chang'an's hand, the door slammed shut, sealing them off from the outside world. Wu Huaqian, not yet sensing anything was wrong, smiled and asked, Taoist Li, are these materials enough? They're a little short. Not enough. Surprised, Wu Huaqian immediately prepared to take more materials from his storage pouch. But he suddenly found he couldn't move. An immense array power had descended upon him at some point, making him feel as if he were facing a golden core great cultivator. His entire body was pinned down, completely immobilized. Wu Huaqian's heart tightened, and a chill ran down his spine. Taoist Li, what is the meaning of this? We've known each other for years, don't you trust me? Taoist Wu, when did you become one of Murong Kang's bloodlines? Li Chang'an didn't bother with pleasantries, getting straight to the point. Hearing this, the color drained from Wu Huaqian's face. Murong Kang, Taoist Li, are you talking about that from Yellow Crane Immortal City? Before he could finish, the pressure on his body abruptly intensified. Crack! Wu Huaqian cried out in agony, as a web of fractures instantly spread through the bones in his legs. He scrambled to speak. 6 months ago, it was 6 months ago, Murong Kang suddenly found me and invited me to go treasure hunting in the ancient wood secret realm. Feeling the ever-increasing pressure, Wu Huiqian's face was ashen as he quickly confessed everything. At the time when Murong Kang had approached him, he hadn't suspected a thing. In fact, he was secretly pleased since Murong Kang was a disciple from a righteous influence. If the treasure hunting went well, he could befriend Murong Kang, a master disciple, and expand his personal connections. But he never would have imagined that midway through their treasure hunting, Murong Kang would launch a surprise attack, grievously wounding him and forcibly planting the bloodline within him. He only learned later that Murong Kang had already tried the same method on 3 other Foundation establishment cultivators. The first 3 attempts had all failed, forcing him to kill them. Those 3 Foundation establishment cultivators had all been frequent customers of Li Chang'an, buying either elixir pills or talismans. Chapter 355, Chapter 220, Late-Stage Mystic Turtle Tit for Tat. And this time, Murong Kang had succeeded. For the next 6 months, the bloodline seed took root and sprouted within his body. It branched out into countless fine bloodlines that threaded through his flesh, organs, and bones, turning him into a marionette. Taoist Li, please spare my life. I was forced into this. I'm willing to work with you against Murong. Boom! Before he could finish speaking, the bloodline in Wu Huiqian's body abruptly exploded, and he died instantly. Li Chang'an's expression grew taut. He immediately cast out his divine sense to search the surrounding area, but detected no trace of Murong Kang's presence. The puppets he had stationed in various locations also found no sign of Murong Kang. Soon, Dahuang and Ziohai returned, both reporting that they hadn't found Murong Kang. Murong Kang must be proficient in some profound concealing technique. Li Chang'an's expression was grim. He knew Murong Kang was somewhere nearby, but he couldn't find him. Now that this attack has failed, he'll probably try something else. Li Chang'an mused silently. Previously, the reason he had been in such a hurry to kill Sima Rui was his fear that Sima Rui would call upon Huang He Master. But Murong Kang was different. The man practiced the demon planting technique and was shrouded in secrets. He would never dare to involve Huang He Master. When faced with a heaven-defying opportunity like the demon planting technique, Huang He Master wouldn't care one bit about the bond between master and disciple. If he were to discover Murong Kang was cultivating the demon planting technique, he would almost certainly torture the technique out of him before killing him to ensure he was the only one who possessed the demon technique. There's no need to rush, I just have to wait for him to slip up. The next day, Li Chang'an went out. He traveled to Yellow Crane Immortal City to find Su Fugui, Chu Danyu, and the others, warning them to stay away from Murong Kang. Li Chang'an didn't tell them the specific reason. Su Fugui and the others didn't press for details. They all trusted Li Chang'an. Don't you worry, big bro. I've never liked the look of that guy anyway. Fugui, don't let your guard down. Stay vigilant at all times. Li Chang'an took several Tier 2 top-grade puppets from his storage pouch and lent them to Su Fugui and the others to ensure they had enough strength to protect themselves. A few days later, he arrived at the base of Chang'an Mountain and activated his stone eye, scanning the entire marketplace below. Before long, he spotted several loose cultivators who had been implanted with the bloodline. These loose cultivators were clearly Murong Kang's eyes and ears. Without hesitation, Li Chang'an killed them on the spot. Afterward, he summoned Zhang Muyu and Luo Yunshu. He gave them 2 Tier 2 top-grade puppets for their protection and gave them the same warning about Murong Kang. For a while, things remained relatively peaceful on Chang'an Mountain. On this day, the heaven and earth spiritual power on the mountain suddenly stirred. 2 grand arrays concealed the disturbance, making it undetectable to outsiders. Before long, the disturbance ceased. The profound water turtle had officially advanced to the Tier 2 late stage. It's finally reached this stage. A gratified look appeared on Li Chang'an's face. He was very pleased with the spirit turtle's growth speed. Next, the profound water turtle would have to face the difficult barrier to Tier 3. Unfortunately, Li Chang'an had no treasure on hand that could help it break through to Tier 3, simply because such items were exceedingly rare. There were very few Tier 3 demon kings, raised by cultivators in the entire southern domain cultivation immortality realm. Even golden core masters struggled to obtain treasures that could facilitate this tier of advancement, let alone a foundation establishment cultivator like Li Chang'an. The beast-taming Zhou family should have something. Li Chang'an's gaze deepened as he looked off in the direction of the Zhou clan territory. He had recently gathered quite a bit of information on the Zhou family. According to his intelligence, everything at the Zhou family was normal, with no signs of anything unusual. It seemed what Zhou Xianxia had written in his letter before his death was merely a personal hallucination. I can't go to the Zhou family yet, I'll wait and see. Li Chang'an was in no hurry. The profound water turtle had just broken through to the Tier 2 late stage. It still needed time to accumulate magical power. In the blink of an eye, another year had passed. Over the course of the year, Li Chang'an had slain dozens of cultivators implanted with the bloodline. As time went on, fewer and fewer such cultivators appeared. Murong Kang had clearly realized that Li Chang'an possessed some method of detecting the bloodline, as he no longer used it to probe him so readily. While the two were locked in their standoff, the sect war throughout the southern domain cultivation immortality realm continued to rage on. On this day, a shocking piece of news spread like wildfire. Patriarch Mo, while aiding the Cyan Cloud sect, had been killed in a joint attack by cultivators from the 10,000 Swords sect and the artifact refining O family. He had fallen in battle within the ancient ruins. For the patriarch of one of the 7 great noble families to fall in battle, it was truly shocking news. I didn't think a patriarch would fall so soon. Li Chang'an soon learned of the news. Although Patriarch Mo was not a golden core, he was at the foundation establishment peak of cultivation. More importantly, he possessed Tier 3 puppetry skill and was capable of repairing the Mo family's Tier 3 puppet. His death was a devastating blow to the Mo family. However, over the past few years, the 3 great sects and several noble families had all suffered considerable losses. Even the 3 families that had remained neutral, the Mu family, the Jin family, and the Xiao family, had incurred losses. The overall strength of the entire southern domain cultivation realm had declined significantly since the beginning of this great turmoil. They've been fighting all this time with no signs of stopping. I wonder when this great turmoil will ever end. Li Chang'an performed his usual divination, but the only future he could foresee was one of endless bloodshed. A few more days passed. Another piece of news arrived. The Mo family had chosen a new patriarch. This new patriarch did not immediately retaliate against the 10,000 Swords sect and the O family. Instead, he announced that there were internal problems within the Mo family. He claimed that over the years, many miscarriages of justice had occurred, causing countless Mo family disciples to renounce the clan. He sent word that he would right these wrongs, expressing his hope that all the unjustly exiled disciples would return to the Mo family. Righting the wrongs. Li Chang'an was lost in thought as he read the news. The Mo family was indeed a mess internally. Otherwise, Mo Feng and his sister would never have been forced to leave the clan and become tribulation cultivators. Both siblings were quite talented. They had a fortuitous encounter many years ago, and both managed to become foundation establishment cultivators. Does the Mo family really intend to right the wrongs done to its disciples? Or have their ranks been so thinned by constant warfare that they're just desperate for reinforcements? Li Chang'an suspected both might be true. Either way, I hope the Mo family can stay stable, at least until Mo Qingsu achieves core formation. He couldn't afford for anything to happen to Mo Qingsu. After all, she still owed him 4 favors. A few days later, a letter arrived on Chang'an Mountain. The letter was handwritten by Mo Qingsu herself. In it, she stated that she would be attempting her breakthrough to core formation in 3 months. If Li Chang'an was interested, he was welcome to come to the Mo family to observe the process. 3 months. Li Chang'an was shocked. How could it be so soon? Mo Qingsu is even younger than I am. Although she has an abnormal spirit root and her cultivation speed is fast, there's no need for her to rush her breakthrough to core formation. She has plenty of time. She could easily spend another decade or more refining her foundation and accumulating a deeper reserve of magical power. Could it be that the Mo family can't even afford to give her that decade? Chapter 356, Chapter 221, Demon Seed Weakness, City of Puppets. The Mo family's losses over the years were perhaps far greater than outsiders imagined. If that weren't the case, Mo Qingsu wouldn't have been in such a hurry to break through to core formation. Logically, the Mo clan territory has a Tier 3 grand array, and with their Tier 3 puppets, they shouldn't have been breached so easily, even in their weakened state. Li Chang'an mused. The problem must lie with the Tier 3 puppets. The Mo family's two Tier 3 puppets had most likely been damaged during the years of constant battle. I wonder if Mo Qingsu will succeed. Li Chang'an had originally been quite confident that Mo Qingsu would reach core formation, but now he wasn't so sure. He could only hope nothing unexpected happened to her. A few days later, Li Chang'an assumed the identity of Li Fan and went to the black market to meet with Zhao Ming of the demon sect. Over the past few years, the two had met almost every year to trade souls. Furthermore, Li Chang'an had also used Zhao Ming as a channel to purchase numerous treasures for his venerable soul banner to devour. The tier of the venerable soul banner was approaching Tier 3. Inside a private room in the black market, Li Chang'an met with Zhao Ming. Taoist Zhao. Haha, Taoist Li, it's been a while. Zhao Ming was all smiles, a completely different person from their first meeting, with no trace of his previous coldness. This was because, through their years of trading, he had confirmed that Li Chang'an was not only wealthy, but also a long-term client who could bring him a steady stream of income. With a flash of spiritual light from his hand, a small bronze cauldron appeared. The cauldron was filled with densely packed souls. Taoist Li, same old price. 10,000 souls, a mix of mortal and cultivator souls of very high quality. That'll be 100,000 low-grade spirit stones. All right. Li Chang'an still didn't haggle. After all, Zhao Ming was his only channel for buying souls. He readily paid the spirit stones. Soon the two signed a spirit contract, and the transaction was complete. The 10,000 souls flew one after another into Li Chang'an's venerable soul banner. The venerable soul banner now held a total of 80,000 souls. The power these 80,000 sub-souls could provide had reached a truly astonishing level. If all of it were channeled to the evil soul, it would be enough to instantly kill a Foundation Establishment peak cultivator. The venerable soul banner's artifact spirit sent him a fragmented message. It conveyed that, although there was a nearly insurmountable gap between Foundation Establishment and core formation cultivators, a quantitative change was leading to a qualitative one. With a few tens of thousands more souls, there was a chance the evil soul could match a fake pill powerhouse. But the prerequisite was that the venerable soul banner had to be promoted to Tier 3. I'm finally approaching the fake pill level. Li Chang'an rejoiced inwardly. As long as the evil soul's power reached the fake pill level, all the spirit stones he had invested over the years would be worth it. At this rate, if nothing unexpected happened, the evil soul would become his first Tier 3 trump card. Once he possessed a Tier 3 asset, he could handle many matters with greater ease, such as collecting advancement treasures for himself and the profound water turtle. Demonic methods are truly impressive. No wonder so many people fall to the demonic path. The refining method for the venerable soul banner was unique to the demonic path. The righteous Tao artifact refiners from the major sects and noble families didn't know how to refine a venerable soul banner. Of course, perhaps some did, but they feigned ignorance for fear of being labeled a demon cultivator. Li Chang'an put away the venerable soul banner and said to Zhao Ming with a smile, Taoist Zhao, I will need even more souls. I'll be counting on you for the next few years. Rest assured, Taoist Li, you can leave this matter to me. Zhao Ming, also beaming, patted his chest as he made his promise to Li Chang'an. But he quickly changed his tune. However what? Taoist Li, you may not know this, but over the years to gather souls for you, I've already bought up the souls of my relatives, friends, Tao companion, and even my disciples. To get more souls in the future, it's going to cost more spirit stones. His smile became a bit awkward, and he seemed to be in a difficult position. Hearing this, how could Li Chang'an not understand? The guy was clearly trying to jack up the price. Taoist Zhao, if you want to raise the price, just say so. There's no need to beat around the bush between us. Taoist Li, you've misunderstood. I'm really not trying to raise the price. The situation is just as I've described. Zhao Ming immediately explained. Even in a demon sect, obtaining souls wasn't that easy. His large-scale acquisition of souls over the past few years had already attracted a lot of attention. To avoid trouble, he had spent a considerable number of spirit stones to bribe people high and low, which was the only reason he could continue acquiring souls. All in all, he really did need more spirit stones. Taoist Li, I barely made any profit from the 100,000 spirit stones in our last trade. It all went to others. Is that so? Li Chang'an couldn't be bothered to discern the truth of his words. He directly tossed him a storage pouch containing a full 30,000 low-grade spirit stones. Taoist Zhao, as long as you do a reliable job, there will be plenty of spirit stones. Excellent, Taoist Li, you're so straightforward. Zhao Ming's eyes lit up. He had thought he would need to do more persuading, but he hadn't expected Li Chang'an to just throw money at the problem. This saved him a lot of trouble. He accepted the spirit stones with satisfaction, and once again assured Li Chang'an that he would do his utmost to collect souls for him. Afterward, he suddenly brought up the matter of the demon planting technique. Taoist Li, ever since I heard you ask about the demon planting technique, I've grown rather curious about this cultivation technique myself. Oh, could it be that Taoist Zhao has found more information? Indeed. Zhao Ming explained with a smile that he had privately bribed the fake pill supreme elder of the sect's library, who then allowed him into the library's most restricted area. Hearing this, Li Chang'an couldn't help but be surprised. The demon sects are truly different. Rules are merely for show. You can even bribe a fake pill powerhouse. Just like that, the fake pill supreme elder turned a blind eye, allowing Zhao Ming to see a great deal of information that was difficult for outsiders to access. Chapter 357, Chapter 221, The Demonic Seed's Weakness, City of Puppets. Among them was information about the demon planting technique. According to the records, the demon planting technique was not impossible to counter. Although Mo Qingquang was tyrannical and arrogant 10,000 years ago, he still found himself in near-death situations multiple times. The sect's ancient texts record that divine sense techniques can counter the demon planting technique. Divine sense techniques. Li Chang'an's heart stirred as he thought of his own divine splitting technique. However, that particular technique had no offensive capabilities. Zhao Ming continued, that ancient text describes that for every bloodline Mo Qingquang planted, he had to split off a wisp of his divine sense and attach it to the bloodline. This was how he could sense the status of the bloodline at any time. So that's how it is. Li Chang'an thought of Murong Kang. Murong Kang could also sense the status of his bloodline and control them to self-destruct. This means the more bloodlines Mo Qingquang planted, the more of his divine sense he had to split off, and the weaker his own core divine sense became. A weakened divine sense. For an ordinary cultivator, this wasn't much of a weakness. In the current cultivation immortality realm, there were only cultivation techniques and magic for magical power and the physical body. There was nothing that specifically targeted the divine sense. The cultivation immortality realm 10,000 years ago was the same. It was for this very reason. When Mo Qingquang first rose to power, he was virtually unstoppable. His magic was tyrannical, and he could simultaneously control countless bloodline-implanted cultivators to fight his enemies. He was hailed as invincible within his cultivation stage, and even killing those in higher stages was easy for him. At the time, the major righteous sects and noble families couldn't understand. How could such a heaven-defying cultivation technique exist in the world? Doesn't this technique have any weaknesses? Later, someone finally discovered its weakness. As he spoke, a spiritual light flashed in Zhao Ming's hand, and an ancient-looking book appeared. He opened it in front of Li Chang'an, turning to the last few pages. Taoist Li, look. These pages recorded a world-shaking battle. It was Mo Qingquang's first battle after reaching the nascent soul stage. Back then, his arrogance was boundless, and he was wildly untamable. Although he had only just reached the nascent soul stage, he already proclaimed himself invincible among his peers, claiming that not even a great cultivator at the late stage of nascent soul could do anything to him. However, this battle completely extinguished his arrogance. This was because a righteous nascent soul cultivator at the time had unexpectedly obtained a divine sense attack technique in an ancient secret realm. He too joined the battle to encircle and annihilate Mo Qingquang, and he used the divine sense technique. He hadn't expected it to have much effect. After all, Mo Qingquang's performance had been simply too heaven-defying. He was still handling the siege of a group of nascent soul cultivators with ease. But to his surprise, after he unleashed the divine sense technique, the many bloodline-implanted cultivators under Mo Qingquang's control suddenly went haywire. Furthermore, Mo Qingquang himself looked as if he had been struck by a heavy hammer. His face turned deathly pale, and his aura became chaotic. In the end, he was forced to break through the encirclement and flee, heavily injured. It was only after that battle that everyone finally understood. The demon planting technique was powerful, but it was not without its weaknesses. Taoist Li, its weakness is the divine sense. Zhao Ming pointed to the contents of the book, explaining it to Li Chang'an. I only learned after reading this book that divine sense techniques actually exist. It's just that these kinds of techniques have long since been erased by time, and they're now impossible to find. If another Mo Qingquang were to appear, I'm afraid no one could stop him. As he spoke, Zhao Ming couldn't help but look a little wistful. As a demon cultivator, he naturally wanted to possess such a powerful cultivation technique himself. Unfortunately, everything had been submerged by the tides of 10,000 years. Not long after Mo Qingquang advanced to the nascent soul stage, he vanished and was never seen again, taking the demon planting technique with him. Some speculated that he had been jointly killed by the major righteous sects. Others believed he was hiding somewhere, secretly improving the demon planting technique in an attempt to compensate for its weakness related to the divine sense. Regardless, 10,000 years had passed, and it was all meaningless now. If someone could truly compensate for the divine sense weakness, then this cultivation technique would be utterly invincible. Zhao Ming couldn't help but sigh with emotion. It should be known that divine sense techniques were a double-edged sword. According to the book's description, using a divine sense technique was extremely dangerous. If one encountered someone with a stronger divine sense, it was highly likely to damage one's own divine sense, leading to confusion or even madness. After reading the contents of the ancient book, Li Chang'an fell into deep thought for a long time. His current divine sense was comparable to that of a Foundation Establishment peak cultivator. If I could learn an offensive divine sense technique, perhaps I could easily defeat Murong Kang. Unfortunately, this type of technique was incredibly hard to find. I wonder if the 3 great sects and the 7 great noble families have any. After a while, the two concluded their transaction. Zhao Ming left with a large pile of spirit stones, promising to bring Li Chang'an more souls soon. Li Chang'an, in turn, sought out some of his acquaintances in the black market, such as Luo Beidong, to ask about divine sense attack techniques. But without exception, none of them knew anything. Li Chang'an had no choice but to leave the black market and head to Yellow Crane Immortal City. Before long, he arrived at the 10,000 Treasures Tower and asked shopkeeper Jin Yue, "Manager Jin, does the Jin family have any divine sense techniques for sale?" "No." Jin Yue shook his head repeatedly, feeling strange inside. Li Chang'an is different from other Foundation Establishment cultivators. Every time he comes to the 10,000 Treasures Tower, he makes some outrageous request, like the Cyan Profound Spirit Liquid before and now a divine sense technique. Things like that. Even if we had them, we could never put them up for sale. Afterward, Li Chang'an went to other shops to ask around. But the answers he received were all consistent. There were no divine sense techniques. If such a technique were to appear, it would undoubtedly cause a massive uproar. I can't rush this, I'll have to plan it out slowly. Li Chang'an temporarily gave up the search. His next focus would be on cultivating the venerable soul banner and the evil soul. Chapter 358, Chapter 221, The Demon Seed's Weakness, City of Puppets. If the evil soul had Tier 3 combat power, Li Chang'an wouldn't need any other tricks. He could crush Murong Kang with the evil soul alone. He returned to Chang'an Mountain and continued his cultivation. A few days later, deep in the night, Li Chang'an sat in the depths of his cave abode, practicing the great Yi-Wood sword array. Before long, a golden light materialized before his eyes. Divination has been refreshed. Today's divination, Auspicious. You receive a distress call and learn that Mo Wenyuan and many Mo clan members are trapped in a puppet mechanism city. You immediately go to their rescue and succeed in saving them. In the legacy left behind by the city's master, you discover an offensive divine sense technique. A divine sense technique. Li Chang'an's eyes lit up, and he immediately stopped his training. He read the divination's contents several times to make sure he hadn't misread it. As long as he rescued them, he would obtain this technique. This technique has come at the perfect time. Li Chang'an was overjoyed and immediately began to prepare. The puppet mechanism city mentioned in the divination is probably not a good place. It's most likely full of traps. Puppetry technique and mechanical technique were 2 different skills. But the two had common ground. Once combined, They could unleash unimaginable power. Mo Wenyuan has a middle-stage foundation establishment cultivation, and his puppetry skill has reached Tier 2 low grade. If even he is trapped, I can't afford to be careless. Li Chang'an mused. His puppetry technique had long since reached Tier 2 top grade and was approaching Quasi-Tier 3. For this rescue mission, he planned to bring extra puppets to scout for danger. The next day, at the crack of dawn, a bird suddenly appeared, circling over Chang'an Mountain. It looked like an ordinary Tier 1 demon beast. Da Huang was about to make a move and take it down. But Li Chang'an stopped him. Don't, it's here to ask for help. Li Chang'an could tell at a glance that the bird was a flesh puppet. It carried Mo Wenyuan's aura. He raised his hand and beckoned. The bird fell into his palm. Then Li Chang'an opened its body and took out a jade scroll from within. Holding the jade scroll, he sent his divine sense into it and immediately heard Mo Wenyuan's voice. Taoist Li, I and many of my Mo clan members are trapped inside a puppet mechanism city. The city is fraught with danger, and none of us can escape. Your Chang'an Mountain is very close to the mechanical city. I sent this puppet bird to ask for your aid. If you receive my plea for help, please pass this message on to the Mo family's cultivators. Li Chang'an quickly finished listening to the entire message in the Jade Scroll. Mo Wenyuan knew his personality well and didn't expect him to come to the rescue himself, only that he would ask the Mo family for help. Inside the Jade Scroll, there was a very simple map. It marked the location of the puppet mechanism city. Li Chang'an took a look. It was indeed not far from Chang'an Mountain. He could get there in half an hour. According to the divination, I can rescue them by myself. After some thought, Li Chang'an called for Jiang Muyu. He gave the message to Jiang Muyu and instructed her to go to Yellow Crane Immortal City and deliver it to the Mo family. Muyu, be careful on the road. Li Chang'an gave her many warnings. Don't you worry, young master. I have a middle-stage foundation establishment cultivation. I'm not a 3-year-old child. Jiang Muyu put away the message, transformed into a streak of blue escape light, and vanished over the horizon in an instant. Li Chang'an, meanwhile, flew toward the mechanical city marked on the map. About half an hour later, he arrived at the location of the puppet city. The area was a range of densely forested mountains, and the mechanical city lay beneath the peaks. Li Chang'an spread his divine sense and quickly found the entrance. With a flicker, he followed it downward. Before long, a mechanical giant gate hundreds of zhang tall appeared before his eyes. The entire giant gate was constructed from countless precise and complex mechanical components. Its surface was etched with dense, intricate magical power patterns, exuding an ancient and weathered aura. It looked as if it had stood there for an eternity. Li Chang'an noticed that a hole, about 2 zhang wide, had been blasted into the bottom left corner of the giant gate. It seems Mo Wenyuan and the others weren't skilled enough in puppetry technique and mechanical technique. They didn't use finesse to bypass this giant gate but forced their way through. No wonder they're trapped inside. He observed it carefully for a moment. Although he could understand some parts, he couldn't decipher the entire giant gate yet. He had no other choice but to enter the mechanical city through the hole. Beyond the giant gate was a silent and freezing passageway. The walls on all sides were made entirely of mechanical components, faintly emitting a dangerous aura. Li Chang'an soon detected the auras of more than 10 cultivators deep within the mechanical city, including Mo Wenyuan and even the Mo Feng siblings. At the same time, the dozen or so people also sensed his aura. Mo Wenyuan's pleasantly surprised voice rang out. Taoist Li, you received my message for help. I did, Li Chang'an replied while surveying the entire passageway. A moment later, Mo Wenyuan noticed he was alone and couldn't help but be surprised. Taoist Li, why have you come alone? You didn't find the other Mo family disciples. Rest assured, Taoist Mo, I've already sent a foundation establishment friend to fetch the Mo family. I came here to see if you needed any other help. As soon as his voice fell, another, older voice echoed from deep within the mechanical city. I am Mo Hong. Thank you for your help, Taoist Li. Hearing this name, Li Chang'an was slightly taken aback. He remembered that the new Mo family patriarch was named Mo Hong. Taoist Mo, why are you all trapped here? Could it be for some opportunity within this city? Sigh, it's a long story. Mo Hong sighed deeply and began to explain to Li Chang'an. Not long ago, after he became the Mo family patriarch, he discovered many miscarriages of justice within the clan. These had caused a great number of Mo family disciples to suffer grievances, and some had even betrayed the clan and left. The most notable among them were the Mo Feng siblings. That pair of siblings had been forced into betraying the clan. He was determined to right these wrongs, but a faction of the clan members disagreed, especially the many members from the old patriarch's lineage. The Foundation establishment cultivators from that lineage actually planned to launch a preemptive strike and kill the Mo Feng siblings. Chapter 359, Chapter 222, Golden Soul Sword Kingsu's Core Formation. If both Mo Feng and his sister were dead, there would be no witnesses. Mo Hong's plan to set things right would also come to nothing. The previous night, the Foundation establishment cultivators from the old patriarch's faction had set out, intending to join forces and kill Mo Feng and his sister. Mo Hong learned of this. He immediately led the numerous Foundation establishment cultivators of his own faction in pursuit. The two groups, one in front of the other, advanced with intimidating momentum, but Mo Feng and his sister detected them ahead of time. The siblings assumed everyone was there to kill them, so to save themselves, they lured them all into this underground puppet mechanism city. Taoist Li, this puppet mechanism city is a ruin that my sister and I discovered. Mo Feng's voice rang out. He knew the man as Li Fan, but was not acquainted with Li Chang'an. These ruins weren't made for cultivators. Any cultivator who enters will be trapped, unable to escape until they eventually die. Only puppets or other mechanical creations can get in. At this, Mo Feng's voice filled with helplessness. If they hadn't been forced, they never would have fled inside. After all, he and his sister were trapped too. The other two parties, regardless of whether they had come to kill or to save them, were likewise trapped somewhere in the mechanical city. The city was fraught with danger, with deadly traps at every turn. None of them dared to make another rash move. Taoist Li, we've all tested it already. Puppets are indeed attacked far less inside these ruins. It's just that many of the traps require a large number of high-tier puppets working in coordination to be disabled. The others all chimed in. Regardless of which faction they belonged to, they all began telling Li Chang'an what they had experienced. Mo Hong said gravely, if I'm not mistaken, those mechanical traps are all trials. Pass enough of them, and we should be able to gain the approval of these ruins and obtain the inheritance of that ancient cultivator. The others suspected the same. However, they didn't have enough high-tier puppets with them. For that very reason, they had all used various methods to call for outside help. Once other Mo family disciples arrived, everything would become much easier. After all, the Mo family treasure vault held plenty of high-tier puppets. After hearing their accounts, Li Chang'an was somewhat puzzled. Taoist Mo, what tier of puppets do you need exactly? Since everyone present was surnamed Mo, his question immediately drew more than a dozen replies. Tier 2 top grade. We need a large number of Tier 2 top grade puppets. There are plenty of puppet materials within these ruins, but our skills are insufficient to craft them. Upon hearing this, Li Chang'an was even more baffled. My fellow Taoists of the Mo family, you mean to say not a single one of you has mastered the Tier 2 top-grade puppetry skill? His slightly astonished voice rang out, echoing through the vast mechanical city. At his words, the members of both factions looked somewhat ashamed. They immediately explained that among the Mo family disciples present, the most proficient in the puppetry technique had only reached the Tier 2 middle grade. Not a single Tier 2 high-grade puppet master. Upon hearing that, Li Chang'an had an inkling as to why Mo Kingsu was in such a rush to break through to the core formation stage. Taoist Mo Hong, as patriarch of the Mo family, has your puppetry technique also not reached the Tier 2 top grade? Alas, I am truly ashamed. Mo Hong's voice was aged, and he let out another sigh. He explained that his progress in the art of puppetry had been slow because he was always preoccupied with trivial family matters, distracted by all sorts of affairs. He barely had enough time for his own cultivation, so how could he possibly have time to practice his puppetry skills? As for the others, they were all so busy with infighting and political maneuvering that they had no desire to practice their puppetry skills. The Mo family's mastery of puppetry was being held up entirely by a few elders. But in recent years, those elders had either passed away after reaching the end of their lifespans, or been assassinated by enemy cultivators during the sect wars. Now, in the entire Great Mo family, they couldn't even find a few Tier 2 high-grade puppet masters. As for Tier 3 puppet masters, Mo Hong didn't elaborate, as that was a family secret. But Li Chang'an suspected that the Mo family probably didn't have any Tier 3 puppet masters left. With their 2 Tier 3 puppets damaged, there was no one who could repair them. Before long, the Mo family would lose its Tier 3 power. This was precisely why the Mo family desperately needed a Tier 3 puppet master or a golden core cultivator. In the end, Mo Qingsu was just being weighed down by her family. Li Chang'an mused. The situation only strengthened his resolve. He absolutely could not let family matters drag him down. Having understood the details of the situation, he took out one puppet after another and began to tackle the mechanical city. Go! With a flicker of Li Chang'an's will, the puppets immediately set out, stepping into the dark, trap-filled passageway. They had barely taken a few steps before a trap was triggered. Boom! 2 puppets were instantly blown to smithereens. But by coordinating with one another, the remaining puppets quickly passed through the trap. Hearing the commotion, the many members of the Mo family understood what was happening. Taoist Li, you mustn't try to brute force your way through the mechanical city. Rest assured, everyone, I'm just testing things out. Li Chang'an was very confident. After all, his divination had indicated he would succeed. He sat down cross-legged, brought out more puppets, and patiently continued to experiment. After sacrificing dozens of Tier 1 puppets, he finally made it through the entire passageway and entered an inner area where the traps were even more dense. The members of the Mo family had been right. The deeper he went, the higher the tier of the required puppets became. In some areas, Tier 1 puppets couldn't get through at all. They were destroyed the moment they set foot inside. Only Tier 2 puppets could barely manage to pass. Gradually, even Tier 2 low-grade puppets became useless. Only Tier 2 middle-grade and top-grade puppets could enter the subsequent zones. As the puppets under Li Chang'an's control advanced deeper, the entire mechanical city began to whir and shift, transforming and releasing an increasingly dangerous aura. Chapter 360, Chapter 222, Golden Soul Sword Qingsu's Core Formation. Sensing this aura, the members of the Mo family were terrified. Taoist Li stopped quickly. The deeper you go, the more traps you'll activate. You might end up triggering the entire mechanical city. They all cried out, their voices filled with anxiety. It was because they could all feel it. If this continued, the constantly shifting mechanisms would affect them even if they stood perfectly still. Taoist Li, listen to me, I beg you, stop now. Mo Hong looked frantic, a fine sheen of sweat covering his forehead. He hadn't been the Mo family patriarch for long. Am I going to die here? At this moment, the dangerous aura emanating from the mechanical city far surpassed what they had faced when they first forced their way in. Clearly, Li Chang'an was approaching the core. Click, clack, click. The sound of countless mechanisms whirring to life echoed in their ears, like King Yama's call to the underworld, filling them with ever-growing terror. The mechanical city seemed to be coming completely alive. The aura of death drew closer and closer. Aren't they saying this Li Chang'an is supposed to be a prudent man? Why is he being so reckless? Wen Yuan, you never should have asked him for help. Sai, am I really going to die here today? The trapped members of the family were growing pessimistic, even desperate. They needed a sufficient number of high-tier puppets. But Li Chang'an specialized in alchemy and talisman painting. How many puppets could he possibly have on him? If he didn't have enough high-tier puppets in his storage pouch and caused the mechanical city to fully reactivate, they would all die here today. Taoist Li, why are you in such a hurry? Mo Wenyuan quickly sent a sound transmission, begging Li Chang'an to wait. If they waited for the other Mo family disciples to arrive and retrieve enough puppets from the Mo family treasure vault, there might still be hope for them. But Li Chang'an had no intention of waiting. He wanted to claim the mechanical city master's inheritance and the divine soul technique all for himself. He chose to turn a deaf ear to their many transmissions. Seeing that he showed no sign of stopping, the trapped Mo family members gave up hope, each resigning themselves to their fate of dying here. Sigh. Mo Feng Wanwen, what happened back then? I was in the wrong. From the old patriarch's faction, a foundation establishment cultivator suddenly spoke up, apologizing to Mo Feng and his sister. When a person is about to die, their words turn kind. I didn't want to see the two of you grow strong, because I was afraid you would compete with my branch of the family for cultivation resources. He's right, I was also at fault for what happened back then. Feng, if we make it out of here alive, I will go to your father's spirit tablet and kneel in apology. At that moment, the cultivators from the old patriarch's faction all openly apologized, begging the two siblings for their forgiveness. Seeing that the pair remained silent, they each swore a hard oath, promising to never move against the siblings again and repenting for their past actions. Afterward, the current patriarch Mo Hong spoke up to mediate between the two sides. In the end, Mo Feng and his sister reluctantly forgave them, stating that they would return to the Mo family. And just like that, in the face of impending death, this group of Mo family cultivators had unexpectedly united once more. Did I just do a good deed? Li Chang'an thought to himself. He continued to control his puppets, breaking through one trap after another, gradually reaching the very core of the mechanical city. As time passed, Mo Wenyuan and the others began to notice something was wrong. Why did Li Chang'an have so many high-tier puppets? Just as they were thinking this, a cold and rigid voice suddenly echoed from the core of the mechanical city. You have passed. The moment the voice faded, the countless mechanical traps all ceased to operate, and the entire mechanical city fell deathly silent. The members of the Mo family were shaken, finding it hard to believe. Had Li Chang'an actually broken into the core region? They tossed out a few low-tier puppets to test the way, and were overjoyed to find that not a single trap appeared. It seems he really made it inside. Just how many high-tier puppets does he have? Why does he have more than the combined reserves of more than 10 of our puppet masters? Don't overthink it. Everyone, let's use this chance to get out of here. Right. Everyone scrambled into action, afraid the mechanical city would reactivate. They raced toward the giant gate. Meanwhile, the puppet under Li Chang'an's control entered a secret chamber in the very core of the mechanical city. Inside the secret chamber, he saw a skeleton sitting cross-legged. In front of the skeleton was a jade table, upon which sat a storage pouch. Li Chang'an had the puppet take the storage pouch. He found that there was no restriction on it, and he could open it directly. He immediately opened it to have a look. What greeted his eyes were mountains of puppets and materials for the mechanical technique. A very small number of the materials were Tier 3. With a thought, Li Chang'an took out a jade scroll and probed it with his divine sense. A Tier 3 low-grade puppet inheritance. He shook his head slightly. Since he already had a Tier 3 middle-grade inheritance, this one was useless to him. A moment later, Li Chang'an took out a second jade scroll. A Tier 3 middle-grade mechanical technique inheritance. This inheritance described how to create various immortal Dao mechanisms. A quick glance was all it took for Li Chang'an to discover many similarities with the puppetry technique. For example, the mechanical beasts it described were made in almost the exact same way as beast-shaped puppets. However, compared to the puppetry technique, the mechanical technique had other ingenious uses. The most common was to use the mechanical technique to protect one's cultivation dojo, making it much more secure. A dojo protected by a Tier 3 mechanism technique was enough to make even a golden core cultivator wary. According to this inheritance, during ancient times, a massive faction of itinerant merchants possessed a Tier 5 mechanical city that floated in the sky. They traveled year-round between the 9 great sects, trading all sorts of treasures. Chapter 361, Chapter 222, Golden Soul Sword, Kingsu's Core Formation. The power of that mechanical city was incredibly formidable. Even a divinity transformation celestial monarch would have to face it with extreme caution. This mechanical technique isn't bad. I'll learn it if I ever have the spare energy. Li Chang'an put it away and continued to search. A moment later, he finally found what he had come for. An Earth-grade divine sense technique, the Golden Soul Sword transformation technique. Li Chang'an's eyes lit up as he examined it carefully. If one successfully cultivated this Golden Soul Sword transformation technique, they could transform their power of divine sense into countless small swords of astonishing might, and directly attack an opponent's sea of consciousness. If used in battle, this move could produce astonishing results. It would catch an opponent completely off guard. Of course, if one's own divine sense was weaker than their opponent's, it could have the opposite effect and cause severe backlash to the user. My divine sense is currently comparable to the Foundation establishment peak. Dealing with enemies at the Foundation establishment stage shouldn't be a problem. A smile touched Li Chang'an's lips. He carefully put this magic away, planning to cultivate it diligently upon his return. In the current cultivation immortality realm, divine sense techniques had all but vanished. If word of this golden soul sword transformation technique were to get out, it would undoubtedly cause an uproar, and might even draw golden core masters into the fray. He continued to inspect the remaining treasures in the storage pouch. Before long, another treasure caught his attention. This is... With a thought, a small, semi-translucent jade bottle appeared in Li Chang'an's hand. Inside the bottle was a single, grayish-brown elixir pill. A Tier 3 low-grade elixir pill, a rebirth pill. Li Chang'an's alchemy skill had already surpassed the Tier 3 threshold, so he quickly recognized this elixir pill. The effects of this type of elixir pill were quite peculiar. After a person died, if this elixir pill's medicinal power was infused into their body, it could cause their soul to return, granting them one more day of life. It was as if they were resurrected from the dead. But it wasn't a true resurrection. They could only live for one more day, and the price was immense. After that one day, their soul would shatter and scatter. They would be unable to even walk the reincarnation path, completely dissipating between heaven and earth. For those who don't believe in an afterlife, this elixir pill should fetch a good price. Li Chang'an mused. For a person on the verge of death, living consciously for one more day was an extravagance. He carefully stored the elixir pill away and continued to rummage through his storage pouch. The remaining treasures were all unremarkable. Before long, he finished taking inventory. In the last jade scroll, he found a message left by the master of this mechanical city. This person had reached Tier 3 in both the arts of puppetry and mechanical devices. He had created this mechanical city for the sole purpose of selecting a successor. Large quantities of materials for the puppetry technique and mechanical technique had been placed in various areas of the mechanical city. A challenger could use these materials to design suitable puppets or mechanical contraptions to deal with the traps that lay ahead. Through this process, the challenger's skills would be greatly honed. However, Li Chang'an was an anomaly. His puppetry skill already met the requirements, and he had more than enough puppets in reserve. To avoid wasting time, he had simply brute-forced his way through with a massive number of puppets. Thank you for your legacy, Senior. I will be sure to carry it forward and bring it to new heights. Li Chang'an bowed once to the skeleton. Then his figure flickered. He became a series of afterimages, appearing in every section of the mechanical city to collect all the materials. Before long, the entire mechanical city looked as if a swarm of locusts had passed through, leaving it utterly empty. About 10 minutes later, Li Chang'an, laden with his many spoils, left the mechanical city and arrived outside the giant gate. Numerous Mo family cultivators were waiting for him there. Seeing him emerge alive, every one of them had mixed feelings. They had assumed they would die because of Li Chang'an's recklessness, but they never imagined he could actually make it to the centermost area. Mohang couldn't help but ask, Taoist Li, could it be that you're also a puppet master? Why do you have so many high-tier puppets? Li Chang'an smiled. Taoist Mo, you misunderstand. I bought all of these puppets. You bought them? Hearing this, everyone present couldn't help but gasp. So many puppets, how many spirit stones must that have cost? Li Chang'an added, you may not be aware, but I've always been afraid of dying, so I bought extra puppets for protection. My income from alchemy and talisman painting over the years has been almost entirely invested in them. At his words, the crowd was stunned once again. Rumor had it that Li Chang'an was extremely cautious about his own life, like a turtle hiding in its shell, and that he spent all his time on Chang'an Mountain researching various methods of survival. They had only ever heard about it before. Today, they had witnessed it for themselves. The rumors were true after all. Just then, the aura of a Foundation establishment peak cultivator suddenly appeared within their perception. The aura was ice cold, as if it hailed from a distant snowfield. The newcomer was none other than Mo Qingsu. Her expression was cold, her hair as white as snow. In an instant she arrived before the giant gate. Is this matter concluded? Qingsu, it's all thanks to Taoist Li. If it weren't for him, most of us would still be trapped inside the mechanical city. Mo Hong immediately began to recount what had happened. After hearing the whole story, a flicker of imperceptible surprise flashed through Mo Kingsu's cool eyes. She looked at Li Chang'an and sent him a private sound transmission. Taoist Li, your puppetry skill actually reached Tier 2 top grade so quickly. Why do you say that? Is it not possible that I bought these puppets? You're far too miserly. How could you ever bear to spend money on so many high-tier puppets? Li Chang'an was speechless. It seemed their last round of haggling had left Mo Kingsu with the impression that he was a cheapskate. Mo Kingsu added, Taoist Li, I underestimated you. I didn't think you would make much progress in the art of puppetry. I've achieved so much in the art of puppetry in such a short time. Even Mo Kingsu had to admit it. Li Chang'an was indeed very talented. Back then, the soul in that cave abode had made the right choice. Li Chang'an sent a transmission back. Taoist Mo, since I saved so many of the Mo family's foundation establishment cultivators, can we count this as another favor you owe me? Taoist Li, you really are something else. This time, it was Mo Kingsu's turn to be speechless. She had been about to say a few words of thanks, but Li Chang'an's question choked them back. Fine, we'll count it as a favor. Mo Kingsu turned her head away, her lovely face as frosty as ever, as if she couldn't bear to look at Li Chang'an a moment longer. Before long, the group left the area and returned to the Mo family. Li Chang'an accepted an invitation into the Mo clan territory, where he received an extremely warm welcome. The next day, the siblings Mo Feng and Mo Wanwen were officially reinstated into the Mo family's clan register. The cultivators from the lineages of both the old patriarch and the current patriarch also made peace, vowing to strengthen the Mo family together and weather the crisis of this chaotic era. The entire Mo family was a picture of harmony, filled with the long-absent sounds of joy and laughter. Amidst this atmosphere, Mo Kingsu suddenly looked up at the sky, a deep feeling stirring within her. The next moment, she drifted toward the depths of the clan territory like a snowflake, slowly vanishing from sight. Fellow clan members, act as my protectors. The time for my core formation has arrived. As her voice fell, the entire Mo family instantly fell silent. No one had expected Mo Kingsu to attempt her core formation ahead of schedule. The numerous Mo clan members immediately sprang into action. Some went to patrol the clan territory's perimeter, others went to operate the Tier 3 array, and still others went to notify the rest of the clan members. They all understood that Mo Kingsu's success or failure would determine the future of the Mo family. If she succeeded, the Mo family could enjoy several hundred more years of glory, but if she failed, then everything would be uncertain. For the next several days, the numerous Mo clan members waited anxiously, every moment in agony. Li Chang'an had a calmer state of mind, but his expression was also extremely grave. Will she succeed? 3 days later, the surrounding heaven and earth spiritual power suddenly surged madly toward the depths of the Mo clan territory, forming a giant, funnel-shaped vortex visible to the naked eye. The heaven and earth spiritual chi in a 10-li radius was almost completely drained in an instant, causing Li Chang'an and the many Mo clan members to feel extremely uncomfortable. What an enormous spiritual power vortex! Li Chang'an stood outside the Mo family's main hall, gazing at the spiritual power vortex. That was precisely the celestial phenomenon that core formation would inevitably trigger. A 10-li celestial phenomenon. Going from foundation establishment to core formation requires the transformation of magical power from a liquid to a solid state. It seems Mo Kingsu is handling it with relative ease so far. Over the next few days, the spiritual power vortex remained stable, showing no signs of any abnormality. Countless Mo family disciples stared anxiously at the sky, silently praying that nothing would go wrong. Before they knew it, another 2 days had passed. That evening, the spiritual power vortex in the sky suddenly halted. It didn't collapse, but instead dispersed smoothly. At the same time, gusts of cold wind howled past, bringing with them an endless chill. Snow drifted down from the heavens, blanketing the entire Mo family estate in white. Before long, an aura far surpassing the foundation establishment stage emerged from the depths of the clan territory, causing everyone within to feel an indescribable pressure. Li Chang'an's gaze was profound as he looked toward the depths of the clan territory. She should have succeeded. The only question is, Did she form a fake pill or a true pill? Chapter 362, Chapter 223, Peerless Celestial Pride, Golden Core Magical Combat. Forming a fake pill meant there was no possibility of further advancement in this life, forever stuck at that realm, just like Zaihu Hong. Forming a true pill was of course far better. Even if it's just a lower-grade true pill, she'll still be able to continue on her cultivation path. Li Chang'an thought silently, his gaze fixed on the depths of the Mo clan territory. At this moment, the entire Mo clan gradually fell silent, leaving only the sound of the howling wind and snow. Anxiety filled the hearts of the many Mo clan members, but they didn't make a sound, every one of them staring nervously toward Mo Kingsu's place of seclusion. That aura grew stronger and stronger, like a majestic mountain pressing down upon the entire Mo clan territory. Before long, a figure flew out from the depths of the clan territory and hovered in midair. Her head of snow-white hair billowed in the blizzard, and her body radiated an icy aura. It was Mo Kingsu. There is no need to worry. I have successfully completed my core formation. Her eyes, cold and clear as frost, gazed down at the clan members below as her voice drifted on the frigid wind across the entire Mo clan territory. Upon hearing her voice, almost every Mo clan member was too excited to contain themselves. Some even began to weep on the spot. She did it, she did it. The ancestors have blessed us. The Mo family has finally produced another golden core ancestor. Even the current patriarch Mo Hong muttered under his breath, his eyes turning red. These past days, the pressure on him had been immense. Just as Li Chang'an had guessed, the Mo family's 2 Tier 3 puppets had suffered varying degrees of damage. And the Mo family no longer had a Tier 3 puppet master. Before long, they would completely lose their Tier 3 power. At that point, the Mo family would become a fat sheep ripe for the slaughter. Whether it was the treasures they had accumulated over 1,000 years or their inherited Tier 3 puppet technique, both would bring utter ruin upon the entire clan. Fortunately, Mo Kingsu had successfully completed her core formation. Barring any accidents, she alone was enough to uphold the Mo family's glory for another 400+ years. Congratulations, ancestor, on your core formation. Mo Hong's voice was thick with emotion as he bowed deeply. Immediately after, a chorus of voices rose from all across the Mo clan territory. Congratulations, ancestor, on your core formation. Congratulations. Countless Mo clan disciples bowed toward Mo Kingsu in the sky. Their faces were flushed with excitement, and their voices were sincere. From this day forward, Mo Kingsu would be the new ancestor of the Mo family. Her expression cold, she descended from the sky, landing abruptly in front of Li Chang'an and tossing him a stone that resembled a block of ice. Li Chang'an knew it had to be a treasure and immediately reached out to catch it. The moment it touched his hand, his entire body shuddered. He felt a dense, icy chi surge from his palm and instantly spread throughout his body. Mo Kingsu said coolly, "This is a Tier 3 treasure, the Snow Heart Stone. It has a calming effect and can be used to stabilize your mental state when you break through to the Golden Core realm. I used a little less than half. The rest is for you." Hearing this, Li Chang'an was secretly overjoyed. This kind of treasure must be incredibly valuable and extremely rare. Getting it now means I won't have to waste time looking for it later. What's more, Mo Kingsu gave it to me directly, so it didn't even cost me a favor. Li Chang'an. Yes. Before, you and I were in the same major realm, so we addressed each other as peers. Now that I've completed my core formation, how do you think you should address me? Li Chang'an froze for a moment before catching on. This junior greets Elder Mo. Li. The corner of Mo Kingsu's mouth twitched upward, but she quickly smoothed it out, her cold expression returning. She clasped her hands behind her back and lectured him in the tone of an elder. Li, one must be generous and not haggle over every little thing. Suffering a small loss is no great harm. You can't always be so stingy. You are right to lecture me, Elder Mo. Li Chang'an put on an expression of someone sincerely accepting her lesson, his attitude pitch-perfect. A short while later, Mo Hong and the others came forward and asked nervously, "Ancestor, may we ask about your golden core quality?" "A mid-grade true pill, it is acceptable." Mo Kingsu replied nonchalantly. Hearing this, Mo Hong and the others all breathed a sigh of relief. Although a fake pill would have been acceptable, the path of a true pill was, after all, much broader. Li Chang'an, however, thought it was a pity. With Mo Qingsu's talent, if she had accumulated her power for another 10+ years and made more thorough preparations, she might have been able to form a superior true pill, perhaps even touching upon the immortal golden core. The higher the quality of the formed pill, the greater one's chances of reaching nascent soul formation. After a while, Mo Qingsu announced that she would hold a core formation ceremony in 3 months. For the weakened Mo family, this ceremony was especially important, as it represented the clan's resurgence. Over the next few days, Mo Qingsu held lectures within the clan, sharing her insights on core formation. Aside from the Mo clan disciples, Li Chang'an was the only other person qualified to listen to her speak in person. Li Chang'an listened with rapt attention, carefully committing her every word to memory. A few days later, Li Chang'an returned to Chang'an Mountain to prepare a gift for the core formation ceremony. In the days that followed, news of Mo Qingsu forming a true pill spread like wildfire throughout the southern domain cultivation immortality realm. Golden core cultivators stood at the very pinnacle of the southern domain cultivation immortality realm, beings whom countless low-level cultivators could only look up to in awe. For the next 3 months, the topic of core formation was on everyone's lips. Before anyone knew it, the day of the core formation ceremony was almost upon them. The gift Li Chang'an prepared was, from the Mo family's perspective, an exceedingly generous one. It was none other than the manual for a Tier 3 low-grade mechanical technique. For him, it was no loss at all. It was a simple matter of making a copy. Time to head to the Mo family. Li Chang'an instructed Jiang Muyu to look after his home, then left Chang'an Mountain with Ziohai and Dawang. He had been to the Mo family once before, so he was quite familiar with the way. Just as he was about to reach the Mo clan territory, Li Chang'an came to a sudden halt, catching the faint scent of blood in the air. Something's wrong, that seems to be Mo Hang's aura. He immediately led Dawang out and had it sniff carefully. Before long, Dawang nodded at him, confirming that it was indeed the scent of Patriarch Mo Hang. Chapter 363, Chapter 223, Unparalleled Celestial Pride, Golden Core Magical Combat. Then he transformed into a streak of earth-yellow spiritual light and sped ahead, guiding Li Chang'an. A little over 10 breaths later, a gravely injured, unconscious figure appeared before Li Chang'an. It was none other than Patriarch Mo Hang. Mo Qingsu's core formation ceremony is just around the corner, yet Patriarch Mo is gravely injured near the Mo clan territory. Li Chang'an's brow furrowed. He walked over and sent a wisp of magical power into Mo Hang to assess his injuries. The injuries were severe. His life was hanging by a thread. But for a cultivator of his realm, as long as a single breath remained, he could be saved. Li Chang'an took out a few elixir pills and channeled their medicinal power into Mo Hang's body. A short while later, Mo Hang shuddered and slowly awoke. Taoist Li, thank you for saving my life. Taoist Mo, you're truly plagued by disaster. What happened this time? Sigh. Mo Hang let out a deep sigh. In just a few short months, Li Chang'an had saved him twice. The phrase plagued by disaster was indeed a fitting description for him. His voice weak, he began to explain the reason for his injuries. It was Nai Wuxuang. Nai Wuxuang. Yes, this morning I went to one of our subordinate foundation establishment clans to resolve a dispute. On my way back, I was suddenly ambushed by that Nai Wuxuang. Nai Wuxuang was a golden core seed of the 10,000 Swords sect, and the 10,000 Swords sect was a rival of the Cyan Cloud sect. The Mo family, in turn, had always supported the Cyan Cloud sect. The two sides were indeed enemies. Although Mo Hang's strength was considerable, he was simply no match for Nai Wuxuang. He fought a retreating battle, using numerous life-saving treasures, but ultimately escaped with grave injuries. He fled to this spot before he could no longer hold on and collapsed into unconsciousness. Just then, Dawang, who was hiding underground, suddenly sent out a warning. Another person's aura was rapidly approaching. The aura was completely unfamiliar. It didn't belong to any of the Mo clan members Li Chang'an had met before. Looks like it's probably that Nai Wuxuang. Li Chang'an's expression turned grim. He had no desire to confront Nai Wuxuang right now. Taoist Mo, Nai Wuxuang has likely followed you. We should leave this place. Taoist Li, there's no need to worry. Qingsu is already here. Oh, Elder Mo is here. Li Chang'an spread his divine sense, but couldn't detect Mo Qingsu's aura. He was, after all, only at the Foundation establishment realm. Being a full major realm below her, it was perfectly normal that he couldn't find her. A moment later, an unfamiliar figure appeared above the sea of trees in the distance. The man was quite young, clad in silver-white armor and carrying a longsword on his back. His aura was powerful, and he exuded an incisive sharpness. It was the golden core seed of the 10,000 Swords sect. Nai Wuxuang. His gaze was piercing, like two streams of sword chi stabbing straight at Li Chang'an and Mo Hong. Mo Hong, did you really think you could escape? Mo Qingsu's core formation ceremony is almost here. I'll use your head, Patriarch Mo, as a congratulatory gift for her. Hearing this, Mo Hong's expression turned grim. Li Chang'an, however, cursed inwardly. Another one who likes using people's heads as congratulatory gifts. At that moment, Nai Wuxuang's murderous gaze fell upon Li Chang'an. Who are you? I am Li Chang'an of Chang'an Mountain. A pleasure to meet you, Taoist Nai. So it's you, the turtle. Li Chang'an was speechless. When did that nickname of mine reach the 10,000 Swords sect? Nai Wuxuang stared at him and asked, Li Chang'an, Mo Hong's injuries seem to have lessened. Was that your doing? Li Chang'an didn't deny it. That's right, Taoist Mo is a friend of mine. Seeing him injured, it was only natural that I would help. In that case, my sword shall claim another soul. Nai Wuxuang's killing intent erupted. With an astonishing display of power, 18 Tier 2 top-grade gold element spiritual swords materialized before him. Li Chang'an's eyes narrowed, his gaze fixed on Nai Wuxuang's every move. Then, the 18 spiritual swords circled before him, forming a sword array teeming with sword chi. Rays of sword light shone with dazzling brilliance, thick with a fatal aura. As expected, it's incredibly similar to the Yi Wood sword array. Li Chang'an thought. He had only heard it described before, but today he was finally seeing it with his own eyes. This sword array that Nai Wuxuang wielded most likely shared the same origin as the great Yi Wood sword array. The power of this sword array was truly astonishing. If it were unleashed, not even a Foundation establishment peak cultivator could withstand it. But Nai Wuxuang didn't unleash it. Instead, he stared intently to one side of Li Chang'an and Mo Hong, his eyes filled with apprehension. At some point, Mo Qingsu had appeared nearby. Her gaze was cold. She glanced at Nai Wuxuang, but like him, she made no move to attack. Instead, she said flatly, Nai Yu, aren't you going to show yourself, you old fool? Taoist Mo is truly skilled to have discovered me. A thin, wiry old man in linen clothes appeared not far away. He too radiated golden core magical power, and his aura was especially formidable. It was none other than Nai Wuxuang's grandfather, a golden core master from the 10,000 Swords sect. Nai Yu, I've always been confident in my concealment abilities. I wonder, how did you discover me, Taoist Mo? He showed no hostility, asking with a slight chuckle. Mo Qingsu said coldly, I didn't discover you, but if Nai Wuxuang is here, you old dog must be nearby. I see. Nai Yu smiled and moved to Nai Wuxuang's side. It was now common knowledge. The war between the three great sects had started because of Nai Wuxuang. He had once fought 3 opponents at once, not only winning but also slaying one of them. That person had been the descendant of a golden core master from the Red Flame sect. That golden core master, casting aside all face, had furiously hunted Nai Wuxuang down and nearly killed him. Ever since then, Nai Yu had protected Nai Wuxuang, never straying far from his side. This boy is impulsive and quick to make enemies. I can't help but worry, so I have no choice but to follow him. Nai Yu said with a smile. His golden core aura rivaled Mo Qingsu's, but it was clear that neither of them intended to make a move. Chapter 364, Chapter 223, Peerless Celestial Pride, Golden Core Magical Combat. After a few casual words, Nai Yu left with Nai Wuxuang. Before leaving, Nai Wuxuang's murderous intent had not faded as he stared at Li Chang'an. Li Chang'an, the next time we meet, I will cut you down. Safe travels, Taoist Nai. Li Chang'an cupped his hands, his expression composed. His calm demeanor earned him the secret admiration of Mo Hong, who was standing to the side. Most others targeted by Nai Wuxuang would not have been able to remain so composed. Afterward, Li Chang'an and Mo Hong returned to the Mo clan territory along with Mo Qingsu. He took the mechanical technique inheritance from his storage pouch and said, "Elder Mo, this is my congratulatory gift. Please accept it." Mo Kingsu nodded slightly and took the jade scroll from his hand. She probed it with her divine sense, and her expression immediately shifted subtly. "Li, you're being quite generous this time, willing to part with such a valuable treasure. For someone with Li Chang'an's disposition to directly give away this Tier 3 mechanism technique without haggling or asking for any treasure in return." This truly surprised Mo Kingsu. Li Chang'an smiled. "I'm glad you like it, Elder. If you have any questions about your cultivation in the future, you may come find me at any time." Yes. It was clear that Mo Kingsu was very satisfied with this gift. Mechanical technique and puppetry technique had always been complementary arts. With this inheritance, the Mo family's overall strength would rise to a new level. The next day, the core formation ceremony officially began. This ceremony was far grander than Li Chang'an's foundation establishment ceremony had been. The entire Mo clan territory was a scene of celebration. The gates were thronged with an endless stream of distinguished guests, filling every seat available. The artifact refining O family and the talisman Zhang family, being rivals, did not send anyone to offer congratulations. However, the other 4 great noble families all sent representatives. Moreover, with the exception of the Zhou family, the other 3 families all sent their core formation ancestors. The core formation ancestors of the Jin family, the Xiao family, and the Mu family. 3 successive core formation auras descended from the sky. Li Chang'an's gaze lingered on the last ancestor for a moment longer. The rumors say this Mu family ancestor was so severely injured he could barely fight and rarely left Red Leaf Valley. But looking at him now, he seems to be in good health. Li Chang'an mused. Before long, he saw many familiar faces. People like Xiao Yu, Mu Keiwei, and Jin Ming had all come with their family's ancestors. Xiao Yu's eyes darted about, her gaze sweeping over the crowd as if searching for someone. "I wonder if that Li Chang'an will be here." She was still bothered by her previous loss to Li Chang'an. At the time, she had only recently broken through to become a Tier 2 top-grade alchemist, and her skills were still unrefined. But things were different now. Her skills were now well practiced, and her understanding of the alchemy Tao was greater than ever before. If they were to compete again, she was confident she would not lose to Li Chang'an. Suddenly, her eyes lit up as she spotted Li Chang'an in the crowd. "Taoist Li, it's been a while." "Taoist Xiao." Li Chang'an greeted her with a smile. Xiao Yu immediately suggested, "Taoist Li, since we are both pill masters, why don't we discuss the alchemy Tao?" "I was thinking the same thing." The two found a random corner to sit down and began discussing the alchemy Tao together. Xiao Yu was full of confidence, planning to even the score. However, she soon discovered to her astonishment that when it came to discussing the alchemy Tao, she was still outmatched. "I'm still no match for him." Xiao Yu couldn't believe it, and a sense of defeat washed over her. How could she, a proud member of a golden core family, not even measure up to a mere loose cultivator? Could it be that my talent is so poor? Xiao Yu couldn't help but start to doubt herself. Li Chang'an noticed her state was off and immediately said, "Taoist Xiao, the most important thing for you right now is not the alchemy Tao, but your cultivation. Don't forget, you are the Xiao family's golden core seed." Xiao Yi was stunned by his words. She took a deep breath and cupped her hands in thanks. "Taoist Li, thank you for the reminder." Her state of mind just now had indeed been wrong. If she continued to doubt herself, it would inevitably affect her future cultivation path. It might even give rise to a heart demon. Fortunately, Li Chang'an had woken her up in time. Thinking of this, Xiao Yu couldn't help but glance at Li Chang'an again, a sense of regret welling in her heart. Li Chang'an was exceptionally talented, yet he was held back by his spiritual root. It was a true pity that his immortal path was destined to be short. Just as she was thinking this, an extremely terrifying aura suddenly erupted on the distant horizon. Shang. Everyone in the Mo clan territory heard a loud, clear cry of a sword. Immediately after, a brilliant beam of sword light tore through the sky like a meteor, arriving over the Mo clan territory in an instant with terrifying power. A golden core is attacking. Sensing this aura, the expressions of most people present changed drastically. If this sword strike wasn't blocked, the Mo clan territory would suffer countless casualties. Just then Mo Kingsu, her expression cold, struck out with her palm without even moving from her spot. Whoosh! A flurry of snow danced through the air, coalescing into a snow-white longsword that was just as sharp as it shot toward the beam of sword light. Boom! Rampant golden core magical power erupted, sweeping out in all directions with devastating force. If not for the protection of the Tier 3 array, the fate of the crowd below would have been uncertain. In golden core magical combat, even the slightest aftershock was not something an ordinary Foundation establishment cultivator could withstand. After that beam of sword light, a second core formation aura erupted on the distant horizon. Immediately after, scorching fireballs rained down from the sky by the hundreds and thousands, like a meteor shower of fire. Each one was terrifyingly powerful as it smashed down toward the Mo clan territory below. Mo Kingsu struck again to intercept, blocking the attack with a barrier of icy wind and snow. A moment later, a rough laugh echoed from the distant horizon. Ha ha ha, Taoist Mo, what impressive skills. My apologies for the offense today. Another, gentler-sounding voice followed. Taoist Mo, if fate allows it in the future, you may come to my 10,000 sword sect for a cup of tea. As the voices faded, the two golden core auras receded into the distance. That was Mu Yan of the Red Flame sect and Wang Chuanjian of the 10,000 Swords sect, those two old bastards. What happened today was truly excessive. The golden core cultivators spoke one after another, their expressions grim. A core formation ceremony happens only once in a lifetime, yet those two old coots insisted on testing Mo Kingsu's strength at this very moment, completely shattering the celebratory atmosphere. Li Chang'an couldn't help but be reminded of his own Foundation establishment ceremony. Back then, his Foundation establishment ceremony had also been interrupted by that fake pill cultivator, Zai Hu Hong. But at that time, he didn't have Mo Kingsu's strength and could only endure it in silence. Chapter 365, Chapter 224, Slaying Murong Kang and Entering Reincarnation Together. A core formation master, Tier 3 power. Li Chang'an's gaze was profound as he stared at the horizon, lost in thought. That kind of power, I'll have it soon. In a few more years, he would gather enough souls to make his evil soul comparable to a fake pill. By then, he might still be unable to kill a golden core, but he would at least have the power to protect himself and the confidence to face Zai Hu Hong and the others. Just as he was thinking this, a familiar figure suddenly appeared in his line of sight. Zai Hu Hong. It was representing Yellow Crane Immortal City, here at the Mo clan territory. The recent attack by the Golden Core Cultivator also reminded him of the time he had descended from the sky to assert his dominance over Li Chang'an's Foundation establishment ceremony. He glanced in Li Chang'an's direction and sneered inwardly. Pathetic ant. Zai Hu Hong had never worried about Li Chang'an retaliating. With Li Chang'an's talent, he could cultivate until the day he died and still never catch up to him. He shifted his gaze away, no longer thinking about the matter. Instead, he looked toward Mo Kingsu, a flash of astonishment in his eyes as he was captivated by her beauty and icy demeanor. Taoist Mo, this is a Tier 3 treasure wood, silver-threaded agar wood. It can be used as a core component for a Tier 3 puppet. Please accept it. Zai Hu Hong was all smiles as he presented his congratulatory gift, his gaze lingering on Mo Kingsu's face for a moment longer than necessary. Mo Kingsu's expression was indifferent, but a hint of coldness appeared in the depths of her eyes. The next moment, her sound transmission reached Li Chang'an's ears. Li, you still have 5 favors with me. Would you like to use one and have me kill this Zai Hu Hong for you? Hearing this, Li Chang'an was taken aback. He never would have imagined that Mo Kingsu would bring this up. I appreciate your kind offer, Elder Mo, but I wish to end this matter with my own hands. With your own hands? Mo Kingsu frowned slightly. With Li Chang'an's meager abilities, what could he possibly use to deal with a fake pill cultivator? Does he intend to build a Tier 3 puppet? But the materials for a Tier 3 puppet are all incredibly precious. Even a core formation cultivator would struggle to gather them, let alone a mere independent practitioner at Foundation establishment like Li Chang'an. Mo Kingsu wasn't optimistic about his chances, but she didn't try to persuade him otherwise, simply letting him do as he wished. The favors are still mine to hold anyway. Eventually, Li Chang'an will realize how difficult this path is and come to me, asking for my help. The next few days. The core formation ceremony proceeded smoothly, with no further disturbances. According to the normal schedule, the core formation ceremony would last for a month. Most of the guests knew each other. They gathered in groups, sometimes discussing the Tao, other times talking about the situation in the entire Zhao country cultivation immortality realm. In recent years, it wasn't just the southern domain cultivation immortality realm that had been in chaos. The cultivation immortality realms in the other regions of Zhao country had also descended into turmoil. Everyone felt as if an unseen hand was slowly pushing the world into this chaotic era, causing endless conflict and slaughter. Even neutral noble families like the Zhao family and the Jin family were feeling immense pressure. Taoist Li, the world is growing more and more chaotic. You must make preparations early. There will always be a place for you as an honored guest elder in my Zhao family's Dan Valley. Taoist Li, the same goes for my Mu family's Red Leaf Valley, as long as you wish to come. As a Tier 2 top-grade alchemist, Li Chang'an received offers from many factions. The Mu family made him the best offer, even promising him Cyan Profound Spirit Liquid. Furthermore, if he were willing to join the Mu family, he could also receive guidance from their fake pill ancestor at any time. Had it been any other Tier 2 alchemist, they might have actually accepted such terms. But Li Chang'an still politely refused. It seems the Mu family is truly not doing well, to think they're willing to use such good terms to recruit me, he mused. In the past, why would a dignified golden core family go to such lengths to recruit an outsider? Although Li Chang'an refused, he did promise the Mu family a trade. He would exchange spirit pills for the Mu family's spirit plants. Neither side would lose out. The spirit contract for this trade would serve as a connection between them. I have to carefully cultivate my connections with the golden core families. They might come in handy someday. Li Chang'an smiled as he signed his name on the spirit contract. Just then, some surprising news arrived from outside. A great battle had broken out near Yellow Crane Immortal City. Yi Hao, the leader of the Huang Alliance, had reappeared. He now possessed the cultivation of the late stage of Foundation establishment and was virtually invincible among his peers, having killed several late-stage Foundation establishment Immortal City guest elders in a single battle. This is impossible. Zai Huang was in disbelief. He had personally watched Yi Hao jump off soul-breaking cliff years ago. That was a place of certain death. Not even a golden core cultivator could survive entering it, let alone a Foundation establishment cultivator like Yi Hao. Could it be that someone was impersonating Yi Hao? But then even more shocking news arrived. In that battle, Huang Yi Master's first disciple He Qianchen had taken action, intending to kill Yi Hao. But Yi Hao had actually withstood more than 10 of He Qianchen's attacks before successfully retreating. A Foundation establishment cultivator withstood a golden core master. That's utterly unbelievable. The report must be wrong. Everyone's initial reaction was more or less the same. It might be possible to fight across minor cultivation stages, but crossing a major realm was considered nearly impossible, especially between the Foundation establishment and Golden Core realms. There was a massive chasm between them that not even a celestial pride could cross. But next, more and more reports came in, and every single one of them confirmed that it was true. The Foundation establishment cultivator, named Yi Hao, had indeed withstood more than 10 attacks and escaped unscathed. That Yi Hao must be an imposter. Zai Huang simply couldn't sit still any longer. He rose to his feet, bid farewell, and hastily departed for Yellow Crane Immortal City. Watching his retreating figure, Li Chang'an pondered quietly. Yi Hao has become so powerful. Could he have found some kind of fortuitous encounter at the bottom of soul-breaking cliff? Chapter 366, Chapter 224, Slaying Murong Kang, Entering Reincarnation Together. He performed a divination. But the results of the divination were still unclear, shrouded in mist. For some time after, Yi Hao became the focus of nearly everyone's discussions. Throughout the core formation ceremony, news kept arriving. After surviving the Golden Core cultivator's attack, Yi Hao didn't lie low. Instead, he grew even more aggressive, repeatedly attacking the properties of Yellow Crane Immortal City. In less than a month, he had caused massive losses for Yellow Crane Immortal City. On the final day of the core formation ceremony, Li Chang'an received more news. Yi Hao actually blocked a joint attack from He Qianchen and Zai Huang. He was secretly astonished by the news. What kind of heaven-defying opportunity did Yi Hao stumble upon? If this continues, perhaps only Huang He, master himself, will be able to take down Yi Hao. But for a dignified late stage of golden core cultivator to be forced to act against a late stage of foundation establishment cultivator, it would be quite a loss of face. After the foundation establishment ceremony ended, Li Chang'an hurried back to Chang'an Mountain and continued to monitor the situation between the Huang Alliance and Yellow Crane Immortal City. Before long he received news. Due to the Huang Alliance's rampant aggression, the remaining disciples of the Yellow Crane Mountain lineage had all taken action. Even Murong Kang was forced to move against the Huang Alliance. Murong Kang has finally left Yellow Crane Mountain. Li Chang'an analyzed the messages in his hand in silence. He faintly sensed that the time to deal with Murong Kang had arrived. A few days later, Li Chang'an changed into his Li Fan identity and headed to a Huang Alliance stronghold. There he met Yi Hao and confirmed it was truly him, not an imposter. Taoist Yi, you actually managed to come back alive from the bottom of soul-breaking cliff. Sai, it's a long story. Yi Hao gave a bitter smile, his face filled with lingering fear. He didn't say much, seemingly unwilling to talk about what happened at the bottom of soul-breaking cliff. Seeing this, Li Chang'an didn't press the matter. He simply stated that he needed to be informed of the Huang Alliance's every move from now on. No problem. Yi Hao didn't ask any questions either, and agreed immediately. For the next few months, before every operation, the Huang Alliance would inform Li Chang'an in advance. Li Chang'an, in turn, would use the information to lie in wait, searching for the right opportunity. During this time, Murong Kang had taken action several times, but the circumstances were never right to make a move. This was because Xianxia or Zai Hong was always by his side. On this day, the Huang Alliance struck again, this time targeting a spirit stone mine belonging to Yellow Crane Immortal City. The Yellow Crane Mountain lineage had anticipated this and was lying in wait. A great battle erupted between the two sides. Yi Hao, you're a mere foundation establishment cultivator, yet you want to overthrow my Yellow Crane Immortal City. You must be dreaming. Zai Hong roared, his fake pill aura flaring as killing intent filled his face. He unleashed a terrifyingly powerful strike in his fury. An ordinary foundation establishment cultivator would have no chance of surviving such a blow. But Yi Hao blocked it. He unleashed a jet-black stream of magical power, meeting the attack head-on. This power, it doesn't seem to belong to Yi Hao himself, but from something inside his body. Li Chang'an, hidden in the shadows, pondered this. After observing for so long, he had already noticed a few clues. He couldn't help but recall the ring that had suddenly flown into Yi Hao's body during his foundation establishment. Could it be that thing? Just as he was thinking, another core formation aura erupted. Xianxia, the head disciple of Yellow Crane Mountain, appeared and lunged at Yi Hao. Two core formation experts ganging up on a single foundation establishment cultivator was truly unbelievable. But this scene had already played out many times recently. Based on past encounters, Yi Hao would withstand the pressure from the two core formation experts to buy time for the other Huang Alliance members to retreat. But just then, a clear crane's cry suddenly echoed across the sky. Screech! Immediately after, a bright yellow spiritual light descended from the sky, transforming into a yellow crane with a stunning presence, which instantly shot toward Yi Hao. Boom! Yi Hao's entire body shook violently. He was sent flying backward, his aura instantly weakening considerably. Huang He Master's Tier 3, Yellow Crane had finally made its move. This Yellow Crane's power had long since reached the Tier 3 middle stage. With its profound foundation, its strength far surpassed anyone else present. Retreat! Yi Hao roared, ordering the members of the Huang Alliance to fall back. He alone faced the combined power of the three core formation-level threats, the Yellow Crane, Xianxia, and Zai Hong, to give the others time to escape. But perhaps because the Yellow Crane's appearance had disrupted their plans, this retreat was clearly more chaotic than the previous ones. There wasn't the slightest bit of order. The cultivators of the Yellow Crane Mountain lineage seized the opportunity to pursue them, killing many Huang Alliance cultivators. Disciples of Yellow Crane Mountain like Pei Yingyao, Jai Menjian, and Bai Hao each gave chase in a different direction. Even Murong Kang did the same. The opportunity is here. Li Chang'an took a deep breath and secretly followed Murong Kang. The Huang Alliance cultivator being chased by Murong Kang had a cultivation at the middle stage of foundation establishment, and his escape technique was quite decent. The two of them, one chasing and one fleeing, rapidly moved away from the battlefield. Before long, the Huang Alliance cultivator had fled into the Black Dragon mountain range and was speeding toward the entrance of the Bloodstone secret realm. Trying to use the secret realm to shake off Murong Kang, Li Chang'an saw through the man's plan. The secret realm was fraught with crises and countless dangerous areas. If he was pushed into a corner, he could just dive into any random danger zone, and Murong Kang wouldn't dare to pursue him further. Everything went more or less as Li Chang'an had expected. After fleeing into the Bloodstone secret realm, the Huang Alliance cultivator immediately made a break for a well-known danger zone within it. HMPH trying to escape. Murong Kang's expression was cold. He too had seen through the man's plan. A bloody light flashed in his hand as he prepared to kill his target before he could enter the danger zone. But just then, a streak of cyan-wood divine light tore through the sky like a bolt of cyan lightning, abruptly slamming into Murong Kang. Chapter 367, Chapter 224, Slaying Murong Kang, Facing Reincarnation Together. Boom! Several protective treasures shattered. Murong Kang's expression turned grim as he spun around and yelled. "What coward is this?" Li Chang'an said nothing, once again unleashing a beam of cyan-wood divine light. He had entered the borrowed state, his magical power comparable to that of a late-stage foundation establishment cultivator. If an ordinary foundation establishment cultivator were struck by this beam of cyan-wood divine light, they would have been blown to pieces on the spot. But Murong Kang withstood it once more. Li Chang'an. His gaze was sharp and cold as he finally spotted Li Chang'an's figure. "To think you'd actually dare to leave that turtle shell of Chang'an Mountain and take the initiative to attack me. Fine by me. It saves me the trouble. Murong Kang, your leaving Yellow Crane Mountain has saved me some time as well. It seems you've made quite a few preparations." A cold sneer appeared on Murong Kang's face as the aura around him began to skyrocket. "But surely you don't think you're the only one with secrets." In just a few breaths, his aura surged to the late stage of foundation establishment. At the same time, a faint, blood-red glow materialized around his body, giving him an eerie appearance. "Li Chang'an, at first I wanted to kill you. Then I thought killing you would be a waste and decided to plant a bloodline in you. But now, I've changed my mind." The blood-red light around Murong Kang grew more intense, making him look as if he had just emerged from purgatory. He stared at Li Chang'an's body and spoke slowly. "Your talent far exceeds my expectations. I'm going to refine you into my avatar, to walk the world in my stead while I command from behind the scenes." "In avatar?" Li Chang'an's interest was piqued. He asked, "The demon planting technique actually contains a method for refining avatars?" "That's right." Murong Kang's pupils slowly turned blood-red, like two blood moons, giving him a deeply demonic look. "Once the refining is complete, you will forget your past and believe that you are me. Under my subtle influence, you will act according to my will." "So you're saying my appearance will change to yours as well?" "Precisely." Hearing this, Li Chang'an was somewhat surprised. To think such magic actually existed in this world. To completely forget one's own identity and believe you are someone else. That senior Mo Qingquang from 10,000 years ago was truly a peerless genius. "I've always wanted to refine an avatar, but I could never find a suitable target. Li Chang'an, you are perfect." The moment he finished speaking, Murong Kang made his move. The blood-red light around him erupted, making him look like a peerless demon. Chains of blood-red magical power shot from his hands, trying to bind Li Chang'an. But Li Chang'an's escape technique was astonishing. In an instant, he retreated far into the distance, leaving only an afterimage behind. "Is this all you've got, Murong Kang?" Li Chang'an's expression was placid as Tier 2 spiritual swords manifested before him, one after another. In the blink of an eye, a Yi-wood sword array composed of 27 spiritual swords took form, transforming into a brilliant flash of sword light that shot toward Murong Kang. A sword array. Murong Kang's expression changed. He had no time to defend. The next instant, all of his protective treasures shattered, and he himself was blown to pieces by the power of the sword array. An ordinary Foundation establishment cultivator would have died then and there. However, just a moment later, the exploded flesh and blood turned into wisps of blood-red smoke and dissipated into the air. Not far away, Kang reappeared, though his face was a shade paler than before. A substitute death technique. Chang'an was slightly taken aback. Based on the ancient texts he had read, substitute death techniques were extremely rare. Not even golden core experts or nascent soul old monsters were guaranteed to have one. Yet Kang possessed one. Evidently, this magic was also part of the demon planting technique. Chang'an grew even more interested in this technique. With a single thought, the sword array formed once again. Kang, how many times can you use that substitute death technique? Kang snorted coldly but didn't respond. He slapped the spirit beast bag at his waist, and over 100 rays of blood-red light shot out, transforming into cultivators in midair. Among them were more than a dozen Foundation establishment cultivators. All of these cultivators had had a bloodline planted in them and were completely under his control. Go! Kang commanded coldly. The 100-plus cultivators attacked in unison, swarming Chang'an. Chang'an, let's see just how long your magical power can hold out. Kang was certain that a sword array of that magnitude would consume a massive amount of magical power with every strike. Chang'an surely couldn't keep it up for long. If this became a battle of attrition, it would be greatly to his advantage. But Chang'an did not use the sword array again. His gaze was cold and indifferent, a faint golden light flickering within his eyes. Golden soul sword slash. In an instant, hundreds of golden lights split off from his divine sense, transforming into brilliant little golden swords that slashed in unison toward the 100-plus controlled cultivators. Immediately after, Kang let out a wretched scream. The wisps of his divine sense left inside those bloodlines were all annihilated in that single instant. The sudden damage to his divine sense was completely beyond his expectation. A consciousness skill? How do you know a consciousness skill? Kang's face was a mask of terror. He knew the weakness of the demon planting technique. But he had never paid it any mind before. In the current cultivation immortality realm, consciousness skills were practically unheard of. But today, Chang'an had actually used one. Slash again. Chang'an barked a cold command. The 100 swords of divine awareness merged into one, forming a shimmering golden longsword that tore through the sky and instantly pierced into Kang's sea of consciousness. Kang screamed again as if struck by lightning, his face turning deathly pale. Having split off so much of his divine sense to control the bloodlines, his remaining consciousness was only at the level of the early stage of Foundation establishment. How could it possibly withstand such a blow? Under the assault of that radiant golden sword, his sea of consciousness was on the verge of collapse. No, no. Kang's face twisted, his expression utterly crazed. Chang'an, you can't kill me. He transformed into a bloody shadow and fled desperately into the distance. At the same time, a blood-colored jade pendant appeared in his hand. Chang'an, this is the bloodline jade my master refined for me. As long as I douse it with my own essence blood, my master will be able to sense my location. Kang roared himself hoarse. Perhaps because his divine sense was so damaged, he had become unhinged. He was willing to risk exposing his practice of the demon planting technique, intending to use the bloodline jade to summon Huang He Master. If Huang He Master arrived, both of them would surely die. Chang'an's expression grew grim. He used the 5-element spiritual light escape to give chase, simultaneously unleashing the golden soul sword and the Yi-wood sword array, intending to utterly annihilate Kang. And yet, Kang, having cultivated the demon planting technique, was incredibly difficult to kill. His body was blown apart again by the sword array, yet he reappeared once more, as if he were immortal. The divine sense golden sword shattered his sea of consciousness, but even that couldn't stop him. Finally, in a state of utter madness, he poured his own essence blood onto the bloodline jade. Chang'an, walk the reincarnation path with me. Kang's voice was shrill as he roared with abandon. He no longer cared about anything. He just wanted to hold on until Huang He Master arrived and drag Chang'an down with him. But, after being doused with his essence blood, that bloodline jade showed no reaction whatsoever. What's happening? Why isn't it working? A trace of panic flashed across Murong Kang's twisted features. He poured more of his essence blood onto it, praying the bloodline Jade would show the slightest reaction and summon Huang He Master. But it was all in vain. No, no, why isn't my blood working? This is the bloodline Jade my master refined for me. Has my blood changed? Murong Kang's eyes were bloodshot as he clutched the bloodline Jade tightly. Li Chang'an caught up to him, and seeing this looked thoughtful. You said earlier you planned to refine an avatar. That avatar would forget its past and believe itself to be Murong Kang. Hearing this, Murong Kang froze. He slowly lowered his head, an unacceptable thought surfacing in his mind as he muttered under his breath. Am I the avatar?